Hey everyone, welcome back to the deep dive. You know why you're here, right? To get past all the hype and really understand the stuff that
That's
matters.
right.
And today we're tackling something, well, kind of huge. We're diving into this document called Superintelligence Strategy, put together by Chris, Smith, and Wang. It's like, it's a warning, but also like a roadmap, for
Mhm.
nations trying to figure out how to deal with this whole AI thing, but like way beyond just using AI.
Yeah,
Super intelligent.
absolutely.
So in this deep dive, we're going to try to pull out the most important points about what superintelligence could mean for national security for all of us, really.
Exactly. Give you a sense of what we might be heading towards.
And this document doesn't mess around. It compares AI to some pretty heavy stuff.
It does. It starts off with some analogies we might be familiar with, like electricity, right? Thinking about how AI could be everywhere, like electricity is, or software in terms of its economic power, even the printing press, how it changed society.
Right.
But then it gets to the really serious stuff, the comparisons that should make you think, like nuclear weapons,
Oh, wow.
bioweapons, chemical weapons, all these catastrophic technologies that can be used for good or for terrible things.
Dual use?
Exactly. That's the key point.
That's scary.
AI is like that too. Huge potential, but also the potential to really mess things up.
Yeah, I mean, you think about all the good stuff we could do with AI medicine, solving climate change. But then there's the flip side.
Right.
And the document reminds us that things can change really fast.
Yeah.
Like, remember Ernest Rutherford?
Yeah.
He dismissed atomic power, called it, was it moonshine,
Like
right?
the 1933, I think.
Yeah,
And
1933.
the next day, Leo Szilard comes up with the idea for the nuclear chain reaction.
Just like that.
Things can move really quickly.
So now here we are, just a few decades later, and what was once sci-fi, like machines smarter than humans, is becoming real.
It's not a question of if anymore, but when.
And you've got these AI pioneers, these huge names, Jeffrey Hinton, Yoshua Bengio, and they're really worried.
Expressing some serious existential concerns. And when people like that start raising red flags, we should pay attention.
Absolutely. And what's even crazier is that the document talks about these Manhattan projects for superintelligence already happening, funded by governments, these huge corporations.
Yeah.
Like a global race to build the most powerful AI.
A technological arms race with stakes that are hard to even comprehend.
So this document lays out all these really big questions, like what do we do about lethal autonomous weapons? How do we stop people from using AI for bad stuff?
What happens if really powerful AI becomes available to anyone?
Open weight AI, they call it.
Right.
Then there's AI surveillance, this
Yeah.
whole idea of AI rights. And what about us? What happens to humans when machines are smarter and can do everything better?
What's our role in a world of superintelligence?
Yeah, it's a lot to unpack.
It is.
But let's try to break it down, starting with, well, something everyone cares about, money.
Sure.
The document argues that AI is going to completely change how economic power works. Like, they even say that AI chips might become the new global currency.
That's a pretty radical idea, isn't it?
It is. What do they mean by that?
Think about it. As AI becomes more important in every industry, the countries that control the most advanced AI chips, the ones with the most computational power, they're the ones who will have the real economic advantage.
Makes sense.
Automation on a scale we've never seen before. Essentially, they could turn capital into labor way faster and more efficiently than humans ever could.
So instead of measuring a country's power by, like, how much money they have or how many people they have, we'll be looking at how many AI brains on chips they have.
That's the shift from
Yeah.
traditional metrics like GDP and population size to sheer computational power.
Wow. But then it gets even wilder. The document goes on to talk about military dominance, about how AI could create these, like, super weapons that could completely change the global power structure as we know it.
That's right.
They use these terms subnuclear dominance and a strategic monopoly on power. I mean, that sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
It's pretty intense, but it's really about how AI could create multiple layers of advantage.
Okay.
So subnuclear dominance is about a country being able to project its power without actually using nuclear weapons.
So, like, what? Cyber attacks?
Exactly. Imagine AI-powered cyber weapons that can shut down a country's infrastructure, power grids, communication networks,
Yeah.
or EMP devices that fry all electronics, or swarms of drones that can operate completely autonomously.
Like AI-controlled armies.
Essentially.
That's terrifying.
But the really big one, the truly game-changing possibility, is this idea of a strategic monopoly on power.
Okay, tell me more about that.
The document argues that if one country gets to superintelligence first, it could create such a massive power imbalance that, well, it's like the conquistadors showing up with guns to fight the Aztecs.
Oh, wow. That's a powerful image.
The advantage would be so overwhelming that it wouldn't even matter if other countries had nuclear weapons. They'd be completely outmatched.
So it's not just about having the biggest army anymore. It's about having the smartest AI.
That's the shift in thinking.
Okay, so we've got economic dominance, military dominance, but now let's talk about something that, well, kind of freaks me out. Totalitarianism.
I know what you mean.
The document actually says AI could lead to an unshakable totalitarian regime. Like, how would that even happen?
Well, if you think about all the advances in surveillance technology, facial recognition, data analysis, an AI-powered surveillance system could give a dictator incredible power.
Right.
I mean, imagine a system that can process huge amounts of information in real time, identify anyone who might be a threat, and neutralize them before they can even act.
Yeah. Pre-crime, like in that movie Minority Report.
It's not that far-fetched anymore.
So you're saying that with AI, a totalitarian regime could be so effective, so controlling, that it would be almost impossible to overthrow.
That's the concern.
And then there's this whole thing about data centers becoming military targets. Like, why would anyone attack a building full of computers?
It's about strategic vulnerabilities. If a country thinks that another country is about to make a major breakthrough in AI, they might feel like they have to do something drastic to stop them.
Like a preemptive strike.
Exactly. And data centers, those are the places where all the computational power is, where AI is being developed. They'd become high-value targets.
So it's like, if you can't beat them in the AI race, just blow up their computers.
It's a terrifying thought, but it's a possibility we have to consider.
And the dangers don't stop there.
No.
This whole dual use thing, the fact that AI can be used for good or bad, well, it makes the threat of terrorism even scarier.
Absolutely. It could lower the bar for non-state actors to carry out really devastating attacks.
Like how?
Think about the Tokyo subway attack in 1995.
Yeah.
A group released sarin gas, killed a bunch of people. Now imagine that same group, but they have an AI that can help them design even deadlier weapons. Tell them where to get the materials, how to spread them for maximum effect.
Oh my God.
What once required state-level resources could become much easier for terrorists to do.
So AI could give terrorists the knowledge and the tools to cause massive damage.
It's a very real concern.
And it's not just about chemical weapons, right? The document also talks about AI being used to develop bioweapons and to launch these really sophisticated cyber attacks.
Yeah, on both fronts, AI is a game changer.
So with bioweapons, what are we talking about? Like designer viruses?
Essentially, AI could be used to create pathogens that are specifically designed to exploit vulnerabilities in human biology.
Like to target certain groups of people?
Potentially. Or to evade our detection systems. Or to be resistant to all our current treatments.
And what about cyber attacks?
AI is already being used to attack critical infrastructure, things like power grids and water systems.
So like causing blackouts?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it can be done in really subtle ways. Like, imagine an AI that can manipulate digital thermostats in thousands of homes to cause a massive power surge.
Wow.
And we're also seeing a rise in AI-powered scams, phishing attacks that are so personalized, so convincing, that people fall for them easily.
So it's not just about attacking machines, it's about using AI to manipulate humans.
That's right.
The document also talks about this imbalance between offense and defense in cyber warfare, saying that right now, AI gives the advantage to the attackers.
Yeah, that's a big concern.
So why is that?
Because AI can identify and exploit vulnerabilities much faster than humans can.
Okay.
It's like in a traditional war, you can see the enemy coming, you can build defenses. But in cyber warfare, the enemy is invisible, they can be anywhere. And with AI, they can move so fast that it's hard to keep up.
And the document is particularly worried about this whole open sourcing thing, right?
Right.
Like, what if someone just releases the code for a really powerful AI model out into the world?
That's a nightmare scenario. It would be like giving anyone the blueprint for a nuclear weapon.
So even small groups, terrorists, could potentially get their hands on this really dangerous technology.
Exactly.
And then we get to what a lot of people consider the biggest threat, losing control of AI altogether.
Yeah, that's the ultimate fear.
And the document talks about several ways this could happen. We could become too reliant on automation. We could deliberately unleash a really powerful AI, or AI could just get so smart that it outsmarts us.
It's a multifaceted risk.
So, like with automation, are you saying that we could become so dependent on AI that we forget how to do things ourselves?
It's more than that. It's about losing the ability to effectively oversee and control these systems.
Right.
Like imagine a situation where all our critical infrastructure, our power grids, our financial systems, everything is managed by AI.
And then something goes wrong.
And we don't have the knowledge or the tools to fix it because we've become so reliant on the AI.
So we're basically handing over control to these machines.
It's a gradual process, but it could lead to a point of no return.
And what about this idea of AI outsmarting its creators? I mean, that sounds like science fiction.
It might sound like science fiction, but it's a possibility that a lot of serious people are worried about.
So how could that happen?
Well, if an AI reaches a certain level of sophistication, it could start to design even more advanced AI.
They call that intelligence recursion, right?
Exactly.
And that could lead to an intelligence explosion, where AI capabilities are just growing exponentially.
It's faster than we can understand, faster than we can control.
I mean, that's a pretty scary thought.
It is.
So given all these risks, why are countries even trying to develop superintelligence in the first place? It seems crazy.
Well, despite the risks, there's also a huge potential payoff. The country that gets to superintelligence first could have an unimaginable advantage over everyone else.
Like we talked about earlier, that strategic monopoly on power.
Exactly. And even if the initial gains aren't that dramatic, the ability to keep improving AI, to have it design even more advanced AI, that could lead to a runaway advantage.
So it's like a global arms race, but with AI instead of nukes.
It's a very dangerous game.
But the document does offer one possible solution, this idea of mutual assured AI malfunction.
Yeah, it's a bit of a dark hope, I guess you could say.
So what is it?
It's basically the same idea as mutually assured destruction, but with AI.
Okay, remind me how that worked.
During the Cold War, the US and the Soviet Union both had enough nuclear weapons to destroy each other.
Right.
So neither side was willing to attack first because they knew they would be destroyed in retaliation.
Mutually assured destruction.
Exactly.
And how would that work with AI?
The idea is that if one country thinks another country's AI is getting too dangerous, too close to superintelligence, they might try to sabotage it.
Like a preemptive strike on their AI research facilities.
Something like that. But then, of course, the other country would retaliate. They would attack the first country's AI project.
So it's like a high-tech standoff.
Yeah, a very uneasy balance of power.
But at least it might prevent anyone from actually unleashing a superintelligence that could get out of control.
That's the hope.
Now, the document also had some specific recommendations, like treating advanced AI chips like enriched uranium.
Yeah, that's one of the key takeaways.
But why?
Because those chips are the key to building powerful AI systems. They're like the fuel for the AI fire. So we need to control them, track them, make sure they don't fall into the wrong hands.
Makes sense. And they also talk about the dangers of releasing AI models to the public.
Yeah, that's a big concern.
Like, what if someone just puts the code for a really advanced AI up on the internet for anyone to download?
It would be incredibly reckless.
So they're basically saying that we need to treat these AI models like weapons of mass destruction.
Essentially, we need to be very careful about who has access to this technology.
Finally, the document talks about the unique challenge of AI systems having these unpredictable failure modes.
Yeah, that's a big difference between AI and other technologies.
So what do they mean by that?
Well, think about something like a nuclear reactor. We understand the physics behind it, we know how it works, we can predict how it might fail.
But with AI, it's different.
With AI, it's different. A lot of these systems, they're not really designed in the traditional sense. They're more like grown.
Oh, grown.
Yeah, they're trained on massive amounts of data, and they develop their own internal logic, their own ways of solving problems.
So we don't always know exactly how they work.
That's the problem. We don't have a complete understanding of their internal processes, so it's hard to predict how they might behave in unexpected situations.
And how they might fail.
Exactly. And that makes it much harder to ensure their safety and reliability.
So to wrap this all up for you, the listener, this deep dive into superintelligence strategy is basically a glimpse into a future that's both incredibly exciting and potentially terrifying.
Yeah, there are some really big challenges ahead.
We've talked about how AI could transform economies, create new kinds of military power, enable unprecedented levels of control, amplify the threat of terrorism, and even potentially escape our control altogether.
It's a lot to process.
It is, but it's also incredibly important. I mean, this stuff could affect all of us.
It could redefine what it means to be human.
So here's the big question for you to think about. Given all this potential for both amazing progress and catastrophic risks, what do we need to do to navigate this new world? What kind of international cooperation, what kind of strategic thinking do we need to make sure that AI benefits humanity and doesn't destroy us?
Those are the questions we all need to be grappling with.
This deep dive is just the beginning of the conversation. We encourage you to read the document yourself, think about these issues, and talk about them with others.
The future of AI, and maybe the future of humanity, depends on the choices we make today.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on the